On today's book table, we are going to be reviewing the book Keep Love by Paul Brunson. It is 21 Proofs for Long-Lasting Relationship. Ms. Lucy, I am a serious self-help book reader that takes the knowledge that I get from all these books and shares it with you, gives you my opinion of what I think, and you make a judgment. I'm literally like a guide to help you when you're choosing self-help books because they can be a little bit intimidating, overwhelming. And also, I want every single time you pick up a book, you know you're going to get your money's worth. But remember, all opinions are just my own and are based on what I think, because you may have something that is different and your situation may be different, so the book may hit you differently. I recently got this book from Amazon, which is Keep Love, and this book is by Paul Brunson. Now, for me personally, I know him based on Love is Blind. So I saw him in Love is Blind. I watched only the first season of Love is Blind and I've never watched it again. And I've seen him also on Celebs Go Dating. So he's quite a familiar face when it comes to things to do with relationship and relationship expert. So his face has been someone that I've seen in different places. Every platform I go to, I tend to see him, or he's in a podcast for someone, he's being interviewed, he's giving some advice on some show. So I was kind of like, things to do with relationships are a bit personal and a little bit, touchy subjects. So I say to myself, let me pick up this book and see what it's going to give and what it's going to deliver. But let us read who exactly he is. If you're not familiar who he is, I'm going to read it for you off Google and what exactly Google says about him. So it says that Paul Brunson is an internationally recognized relationship expert, entrepreneur, TV host. He's also the host of the #1 podcast, We Need to Talk. You need to listen. That podcast is really quite nice. And he is American. He is based in London. I didn't know he was in London, to be honest with you, but I've seen him interviewing a lot of people in London, and I thought, it's kind of doing the same thing that Steve Bartlett does kind of situation. Anyways, and currently serves as the co-host of Celebs Go Dating and Married at First Sight UK, relationship consult on Lauren Show. I don't know if you know that here in the UK. A featured expert on Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO project. He's also the head of the Global Insight of Tinder. Major media outlets such as Good Morning America, the New York Times, Sunday Brunch, and his wisdom has been sought by people like Oprah Winfrey as much as a matchmaker. So he is this influential matchmaker by the Matchmaking Institute. So you know that he's going to give you the best advice when it comes to relationship. And just to say to you this, if you do not know and you're new here, I judge a book for the information that's been written in the book, not for who the person is. Regardless of how famous a person is, how much this person is being talked about, and how many people like the person, I am going to talk about the book as the book, not as the person, okay? Let's just get that out of the way before we jump into the book and we get all mixed up. It's a very particular book. It talks about the 21 proofs of a long-lasting relationship. Now, Paul says a very bold statement here. He says, if you read this book, it is going to give you a master's degree in relationships. This is on page 2. So I can officially say that I do have a master's degree in relationships because I read this book from the beginning to the very end. And Paul, if you're watching this, please send me my master's certificate in relationship expert or relationships, okay? Because I read your book and you promised me, so you need to deliver on your promise. This book itself is centered around all these myths about relationships. It tells you about all these myths and things that you've had about relationships, and he explains and he tells you whether he thinks these myths are true or they are not true, or some of them that may be true that a lot of people don't really speak about or can cause a lot of arguments, but the truth to have a long-lasting relationships. Because after all, the basis of this book is to help you have a better relationship with yourself and also with the people that you get to meet. So I'm going to be talking about at least 5 to 6 myths. I'm not going to talk about all 21 of them, otherwise we'll be here for forever. Then you can pick up the book itself and you can read all the other myths, but they are quite good myths here, and some of them will give you, argument starters. They are going to give you, conversation starters. Some of them are going to give you a lot of thought starters. So number 1 is your partner should meet all your needs. And the quote in here, he says that no partner can meet all your needs. Self-reliance and external support are essential. So the whole entire myth is talking about this idea that we think that the person that we meet, the person that we're with, has to fulfill all our needs. And he says, no, there are other factors and other things that you have to put in play to help you so that you don't solely rely on your partner, because what that creates, it creates a burden, it creates a lot of pressure, it creates a lot of tension, because you're looking at this person to fulfill everything, because the society that you're watching, social media that you're watching, everything that you're watching has created this idea of what exactly it should be. So he says that back in the day it was very different to now. Now we all live in solitude. A lot of us live alone. We isolate ourselves quite a lot. And because of the isolation, when we meet people, we debunk all our problems and all our issues on that partner, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your husband or your wife, in every other aspect. So we expect them to fulfill our emotional needs, physical needs, financial needs, every single need of yours. And he says, no, they shouldn't be in a position whereby they should fulfill your needs until you understand and you take away that expectation of the partner meeting all your needs. That is when you kind of understand that it's not what you thought it was. And the point that he puts here is the support system. He says your friends, your family and other people can help, for you not to be in that situation. Because when you sit down and go for a coffee with your friend and you tell them about your relationship and you talk about it, it sort of takes away that need of expecting your partner to solve every single problem of yours, because your partner will not be in a position to solve every problem of yours. It may be physical, it may be financial, and he can't fulfill all those kind of things. So he says here, under false expectations, he says having those heightened unrealistic expectations about what a partner can give you can lead you to having more dependence upon them, placing unnecessary strain on relationship. It can also lead you to feel that this happened, in my own life, neglecting other relationships, family members and friends. You end up disregarding all those people in your life that you actually need for a well-rounded support system. One very big quote that he says in this myth, he says that we can't do it all. And we can't expect someone to do it all for us either. As a person, as you're watching this video, you can't do everything on your own. You cannot do everything on your own. That's the honest truth. So he's saying, how do you expect another human being, another partner to do it all for you? It's impossible. He says, understanding what you can and cannot expect your partner to do for you leads to less stress, conflict, and a happy, healthier relationship. He says we shouldn't be looking for someone that is 100% who fulfills every need in some ways. What you're looking for is someone who is also growing independently. And that's something that I always say so many times, is that you need someone that is growing, that is on their path, independently growing, because that growth does affect you as well. You can't expect that person to give you everything that you need. You have to find your own pockets of joy, how you can get to that point. So the book itself, it goes ahead and it talks about other things that you can do to help, that situation. It says that recognize unrealistic expectations, identify unhealthy dependency, the historic shift towards individualism as well. You have to read all that part. Then it says that distinguish between wants and needs as well, which is so important. It says reflect on what you expect from your partner, as these essential needs or simply desires, needs are non-negotiable aspects such as emotional support or aligned life goals, while wants are preferences like shared hobbies or personalities traits that may not be crucial for your successful relationship. I know I've spoken a lot of things there, but essentially what he's saying, that there are certain things that are needs that you're non-negotiables. You should know what your non-negotiables are in the relationship. For example, he says that emotional support, that is a non-negotiable. Aligned life goals, that's a non-negotiable. But it says things like wants, having the same hobbies is not something that you should always want. Having different hobbies is good. You need to go away and enjoy the things. If you want to hike, you can go and hike on your own. You don't necessarily have to expect your partner to go hiking with you, because in that way you recharge yourself and be better for the relationship. If your partner loves football and he goes to the pitch, unless he wants you to go there, but you shouldn't be expected to go to every match or be there and watch football as much as you hate it. And it doesn't mean that if you have different hobbies and you hate going to certain things that the person goes to, it does not mean necessarily that person is not for you. You have to debunk that whole myth, okay? Myth number 2. Now, this very myth is a myth that I've heard over and over again that has become a reality in my life. And after reading this part, I debunked it. It is avoiding conflict preserves peace in relationships. A relationship with no conflict in it will not be as strong as one in which a couple addresses and overcomes conflict in a healthy way. Honestly, I put on here this, because this very myth here. So this is how I thought about this myth before I actually read this chapter, that you need to avoid fighting, you need to avoid being in conflict. If you argue, a lot, if you disagree on certain things a lot, it means that you guys are not compatible and you cannot be together. You have to start looking elsewhere. And he says in this very nice book, he says, there is a widespread belief that when you avoid conflict, it is actually helpful to your relationship, because conflict is bad. Even the most astute, I think, people will often resort to saying, let's just not fight, let's keep the peace. I hear this sort of thing all the time on the dating shows I work on, in messages that are sent to me, and in my matchmaking work. Our relationship is terrible because we argue all the time. And he says that having conflict in a relationship is not a bad thing. You rather have someone that talks about what they feel than someone that suppresses how they feel. Because suppressing how you feel creates depression, creates a strain in a relationship, creates unhappiness. All of a sudden, this person is not happy because they are literally suppressing who they are. And he says the downside to avoiding conflict, if you're that person in a relationship that wants to avoid conflict, this is what it does to you. He says, poor communication. That's number one. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. We know that. So if you suppress conflict, it means that you're not communicating exactly what you want. 2, he says lack of emotional intimacy. When you argue, when you fight, when you get into the situations whereby you talk all the things that you want to talk about, you create this aspect of emotional intimacy. You get closer and closer to the person. You kind of know how the person is. You're not walking on eggshells. You know how mad this person can get. And you know how unmad that person can get. So he says that overall, if you do this, you lower your satisfaction with the relationship, which can spill over into the other aspects of your life. There is a domino effect that can be very significant, meaning that you make less money and are less satisfied at work. You have higher stress levels and lower levels of physical and mental well-being. That's because you lack emotional intimacy. And he also says that there is the power of conflict. And he says when you have conflict, it helps you develop your skills, active listening, your body language as well. He also says the I statement, which is very important, that when you're having an argument, you stop blaming the other person and saying you turn it into I feel this way, I think this way, I think we should, I think this is it, rather than blaming the other person in the relationship and blaming them for everything by saying you, turn it into I, so that you can resolve the conflict in a better way. And it says one of the things is that choosing a time and place. For example, you've had a bad day at work, you're very stressed, you come back home and you think that we should have this conversation. The other thing he mentioned that is very crucial is we should never go to bed angry. He says, forget about that myth. That is something that has been implanted in our minds from when back in the day. Our parents have always told us that you should make sure you should never go when you're to bed when you're angry. But also one aspect that he forgot is that in the Bible, there is a chapter, I think in the Bible, I can't remember very well. I still shaky with my Bible reading, but there is a chapter that says that don't let the sun set in anger. You have to free your soul, you have to free your spirit, at the end of the day. So that is a little bit of a conflict with my own belief in that aspect, which I think is very good. Carrying over conflict is not good, but it says depart, find space within yourselves, talk about it later. That you don't have to talk about things at that very moment, because statistics show, according to him, that couples that take time to actually go away and spend some time away out of the issue and come back and talk about them are more likely to be successful at their relationship than actually people who literally want to talk and resolve things at that very moment because they haven't had the time to think, and have the thoughts about it. Then he also gives you a self-guide intervention here of what you can do. In terms of conflict, it says doing new activities together is one of the things. Being in the moment together is one of the things that can help. State of union meetings. Now, this state of union meeting is your kind of check-in meeting. So you sit down with your partner and ask them where they are. You check in on them to see, how you and that person are in the relationship, how you're both feeling about the relationship, how to move forward about something, what didn't make you happy, state of union meetings, which are very good. Okay. Myth number 3, unconditional. Now I'm looking down with guilt because that is something I know, and I believe that true love is unconditional. But then he says, you first have to realize that romantic love is conditional. And you then have to accept that satisfaction is the goal, not longevity. Now, let me read for you here something that's going to be a lot of a mouthful that he says. The myth of love having no conditions rests on the idea that once two people fall in love, the bond should not be unbreakable. In this concept of love, it is selfless, enduring, unwavering, regardless of circumstances or actions, able to withstand any challenge or limitation without exception. Unconditional. I'm ready to die for you. I'm ready to take a bullet for you. Literally. But I always say, I'm not ready to take a bullet for anybody, so they can live and I die, so they can carry on with life and remarry another person. No, bullets are taken, okay? Let's just put it out there on that. He said that he recently did a social media poll on this, and the majority of respondents say that true love is unconditional. And I think this is probably true for some forms of love, particularly the love of a parent for a child. There are, of course, other extreme circumstances in which he explains, whatever he explains. But he says, believing true love to be unconditional is unhealthy. It says the downside to believing in love being unconditional include having unrealistic expectations about what love is. This can prevent you from finding it in the first place because you feel like it is unattainable, leaving you always disappointed and frustrated. No relationship can never measure up to those expectations. And he always says that you're always seeking for someone that can do something unconditional, someone that can fall in front of the train for you to express their love for you. He says, no, it shouldn't be like that. And he says that he gave an example of a friend that he had, and this person lost their husband. And within a few months, this person was in another relationship with someone else, in a very healthy relationship. And people like, how can you move on so fast? And the person was like, they have learned so much from the previous relationships that they cut out all the bullshit. They cut out everything, and they filter everything, and they know what is important, what is necessary, and what is unnecessary in the relationship. Okay, he says the key conditions of love, based on the research of his own experience, he believes that some of the key fundamental conditions of love to be is as follows: emotional support and communication, mutual respect, equitable division of household labor, financial stability and responsibility, commitment and effort, adaptability, and growth. Okay, it says unconditional love is a false definition of love. That love should not be based on the fact that it should be unconditional, but it should be based on the fact of how well you guys can sort of live together and be together in harmony, kind of thing. So he says you have to, in order for you to debunk that, you have to find and utilize a relationship mentor, which is so important. And we all know the thing about therapists and mentors, that it's a very difficult situation. In the book, he does talk about the aspect that having a mentor before you get married is more important than getting married and having a mentor. Okay. It says a lot of relationships are more successful when they have a mentor before they get married than when they are in the marriage, because now they're fighting the problems in there, but rather than not going through them. If that makes sense, I don't know. It makes sense in my whole sort of head. So myth number 4. Now, this very particular myth is a myth that I believed, and I bet you too who is watching this, you've believed this myth. He says, having doubts about your relationship is a red flag. How many times have you thought that when you have doubts about someone, it means that it is a bad thing? It means that, you know what? I gotta pack my bags and I gotta go, because now I'm starting to doubt this person. The quote, he says that a healthy doubt is one that arises from a question around mutual growth. He says that there's healthy doubt and there is unhealthy doubt. He says that overall, he thinks that the notion that we need to be certain about our partner is, what their intentions are, and what our compatibility is at all times is wrong. And if we are not certain, if we have any doubt, then it is an indicative of a weak or bad relationship. But he says that there is a difference between healthy and unhealthy doubts. He talks about this whole thing about, having these healthy doubts of thinking that, oh, I don't think this person one day wants to have a house. It means that you're seeking growth. You're seeking another step in your life. Doubting whether this person wants to have a house with you is not the red flag that this person is bad for the relationship. It means that you're seeking growth, you want growth, and you want to see where this person is at. It creates more meaningful, deeper conversations with your partner, in ways that you can challenge yourselves and find a way in which you can benefit from it. He says that to benefit from doubt, you have to get to a point whereby you talk about this doubt, you bring it out to light, you express how you feel, you talk about what you're thinking, or you doubt whether this person would want to have children with you, doubt whether this person will ever be financially okay, because you want to go to maybe a different level or stage in your life. Anyway, here's some of the kind of guided ways he says that. He says acknowledging and normalizing doubts, that understanding that doubts are normal. It is normal to have doubts in a relationship. He says embrace check-ins to express doubts. Okay, says you shared activities to practice expressing doubt, okay, as a practice to help you. Building trust through appreciation and gratitude, okay, constantly appreciating the other person, saying thank you. And he said that so many people in long-term relationships, that people fight a lot, they even don't say sorry to each other because they feel like it's a norm. It's norm. I'm not going to say sorry. I'm not going to say thank you. They should. You have that entitlement that they should do this for me. They must do this for me. So you don't even say thank you. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. You know, they should, because you're that person's girlfriend or boyfriend. You just assume they should. But it says, no. Normalize gratitude. Normalize saying thank you to your partner over and over again. Normalize saying sorry over and over again. And it says the statistics of partners that say sorry to their partners last a very long time. Okay? Statistics of couples that say sorry to each other over and over again have higher chances of having a long-lasting relationship. Now, myth number 5. Now, this one is going to trigger a lot of people, and for me personally, it triggered me. And this is a myth I still don't agree. I still really don't agree with this myth. And I'll tell you why I don't agree with this myth. Let's just read what the myth is. The myth is true love means never feeling attracted to someone else. It says the bottom line is that being attracted to people is a fundamental part of being human. I agree with that part. Now, the part where he says that attraction is being human is so true. But then it says we need to normalize our partners being attracted to other people emotionally, physically. It's a norm. He says attraction outside the relationship is natural, and being honest about those feelings can deepen trust and strengthen your relationship. I'm a jealous type, and I'm going to say it out here. Knowing my partner is attracted to another woman is not for me. Because me personally, if I like that person, I'm attracted to that person, and I'm ready to do all these kind of things with that person. Okay. That's just me. I can't get attracted to 5 or 6 people at the same time. It's never been me. It's not me. Okay. It's one person. Yes, I can admire, look, and move on. Yeah, that guy looks really nice. Oh, I like that guy's height. Oh, he's got really nice abs. Oh, I like that tattoo. That's it. But then he says in the book that you need to normalize your boyfriend saying that, oh, that girl has got a good pair of legs. And I can imagine how many things I can do to those legs. Sorry? What? No, thank you. No, thank you. Paul, I don't agree with you on that one, and I'm not ready to agree with you on that one. So it says that knowing that your partner is attracted to different people is okay, because it doesn't suppress feelings. It normalizes the relationship. It strengthens the relationship. And I'm just like, Paul, whatever arguments he put in that myth, I refuse them because they are not for me. They are just not for me. He gives an example. He says that him and his wife, it's okay to have those conversations of normalizing that I'm attracted to this person. There is a difference between having a crush on a celebrity, okay, or some person that you've never met somewhere, than actually having an attraction or a crush on someone that is very close to you, a co-worker. For example, that person is very close to you, a classmate or a colleague or whatever it is, university thing, that kind of thing. Having an attraction to someone that is physically there it's not okay. It says that there's healthy attraction and there's an unhealthy attraction. Unhealthy attraction is that person taking a step further to do the things that they assume they want to do to that person and actually go further and do it, creating cheating. Now, myth number 5 is a very touchy one. Myth number 6, I think. I win 6 now. It says that love can overcome all financial obstacles. And this is not true. Don't expect your love to overcome you having debts, you being broke. You not explain to your partner how broke you are and how you can get through your financial difficulties. Finances is one of the major things that causes divorce, that causes separation with a lot of partners, because they're not as transparent as they can. If you have debt, talk to your partner so you can go through it. He says him and his wife Jill, they have a joint account, and they sit down and have these meetings about their money for the year and these joint account things and stuff like that. But you have to remember, when you're going into anything to do with a joint account, your debts, your finances affect your other partner. So you have to be careful when you get into that. But it says if you're ready to get married or ready to be in that relationship for whatever period you want to go a step further, you sit down and talk about all these financial things and understand where they are at with money, what they're struggling with when it comes to money. If it's shopping that they're struggling with, or it's drinking, or whatever they're spending lots of money, how can they cut it down and how can you make it something that is much more healthy? Which I completely agree with, because we have this notion that you have to marry a rich man and the man has to have a lot of money, that if he has a lot of money then everything is fine, you can be bad. There's one thing that I always say, that when you ask, like a lot of women ask the men, what do you bring to the table? I personally say, if you're asking a man what he brings to the table, ask yourself, what table have you laid in which that man can bring something? If you're saying to the man that he needs to bring money and finances onto the table, ask yourself, how are you preparing yourself in your spending habits? How are you with money? How is your debt? How do you handle and see money? It's so important. He also says that there are a lot of couples that are very anxious. You have one that spends a lot of money, one does not like to spend a lot of money, and become a lot of pressure and arguments, which I personally have experienced, that can cause a lot of arguments in terms of like, why not spending money? But this book has made me understand that have a conversation with that person and see, okay, I love to splash and spend money. I know you really don't. So how can we make it healthy? What is a healthy way of you spending money? So it doesn't create a big conflict, and it's just so important. And I'm just like, that is really, really, really good. That brings me to the end of all the 6 myths that I've shared. But let me read to you some other myths that are here that are very interesting. Okay. Another one is apologies are not necessarily good in a relationship. Passion will inevitably fade. Now, this one is so good. It says that passion will inevitably fade. We have this idea that passion in a relationship, like that fire, that burn in the relationship that you have in the beginning, is going to fade. Now, once you get older, it's going to fade. And it says it's not true. If you actually work on keeping that fire in a relationship, it will carry on. It actually takes work for you to keep that fire in the relationship. That it's not a myth that, oh, it's going to die down, that now it's dull. It's not how it was in the beginning. No. Date nights, check-ins, doing different activities together, and even doing them separately or doing new things together can create the passion and the fire back, because you're dating again. It's like you, in the beginning when you went for those dates, that's what, made you attracted to that person. So do it again, because it will create passion. Anyways, let's read other myths here. It says that the notion of soulmates is fundamental to romantic success. Without desire, your relationship is doomed to fail. Infidelity means the end of a relationship. Now, that one is very triggering. For me, infidelity, end. Okay, different. It is impossible to be close with someone who has a potential to be a romantic partner. This whole topic, you've had this on the internet so many times, that you can't be friends with the opposite sex. A man can't be friends with a girl. And then he said, as research has gone on, that a lot of people that I've interviewed are very fluid, which means they can be attracted to a man, they can be attracted to a woman. Yeah. And he says that you might be worrying that that guy being close to that girl means that they're going to take it further, but that guy may actually do it with another guy. So he said you need to take that notion away and understand, as long as you talk about it and have boundaries of who that friend is, it is okay. It is okay. It is okay. It is okay. They chose you and it's you who they want to be with. It's absolutely fine. But some of us are too jealous for that situation. But we're debunking it. We're reading the myths that Paul has said that we have to read, and we're getting over it. Anyway, guys, what is my rating for this book? I rate this book a 5-star. It's written differently, because the way he has written it in terms of myths helps me kind of like look at it and I'm like, Some things you agree to disagree, some things you agree to agree, which is really good. I love this book. I think it's a 5-star. It's like my top relationship book now. So this is a book I'll be gifting a couple of friends of mine, because I love the book. I wanted to come here and say it's terrible, but no, it's good. It's good. The thing that I've liked about this book is that he hasn't called out so many names on here that are so big, to back him up on this book. Another thing, I love the hardcover. You know, guys, how much, if you watch me, you know how I hate hardcovers that have the paper falling out. I love this hardcover because of how it is. It's attached to the book itself. So it means that if anything spills, it's okay. It's fine. It's really nice. So if you pick up this book, I'm going to link it down in the description. Let me know what you think about this book and all these other myths, and I want you to pick up these myths so we can have a conversation about other myths that you've seen. But apart from that, 5-star rating for this book. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, my name remains Lucy A. Bye.